as you can see, to Hobbit, as it will tell you or will show you a journey that happened in a company where our next speaker is working, a journey that transformed QA from one way to another. Please give a warm welcome to our next speaker, Adam Makarowicz. Big applause.
Okay, thanks. All right, so yeah, the quality or Darren back again. Let's start. So a few words about me. I'm Adam, as you may already know. I'm Principal Quality Assurance Engineer in Cognifide, working 8 years with software testing, but I'm constantly changing my role. And I've started as a QA. I was a tester, then I was a tech lead. I was for quite few months also a business analyst, and right now I'm product owner. So I will be talking about the things that happened to me in Cognifide and how the process looks like from the beginning to the modern times. So yeah, the quality order and back again. Yeah, it is like in a Hobbit. And why? Because it was not so easy. It was not only going forward. It was always a challenge. And on each slide, I would like to show you what we did and what was the result. Not always it was the expected result. So yeah, what was the starting point? So back in 2004, that was our first Jira workflow. Nothing really special, something that Jira gave us out of the box. So new, open, in progress, resolve, close, that's it. And nothing around testing, nothing around QA there. And that was a problem with our clients because they thought that we have no QA. And that was not true. We were testing. We were constantly checking the quality. However, it was not visible for the client. So that was the main problem. The thing was also that you may know that in Jira, in the first versions of Jira, the bugs were standalone. So bugs were not associated to the specific story, to the specific feature. And you didn't have like then the view on the feature, how many left to be fixed, how many other things we need to do to deliver. So that was the problem, and we wanted to do something about it. So the first change that we did was to add testing in progress and tested state, which was immediately change the perception of the clients of our company. They noticed that we have some testing. Yeah, so that was very nice. However, you can see that we have some weird scenario where we have resolve and then testing. So there were an impression that we're first delivering something and then we have like a separate room with the testers that testing after the sprint or something. That was also not true and not visible on this diagram. So we introduced the first the other change with implemented state, and then it was clear for the clients and also clear for the whole team actually for whom we are waiting for. Is that implemented and this is a QA queue? Do we know how many tasks we have to test? So that was our queue. The QA taken always the things from implemented. Additionally, along with that change, we introduced the sub-bugs. And that was actually the first, I would say, revolutionary thing for us, because then we knew how many bugs we need to fix to push the feature to the next column. So we also started then using a Jira boards, in which on the single view you have the whole state of the world, yeah, and you are aware how many of the tasks you need to deliver in this current sprint. So that was the improvement for sure, and we were working in that state for quite a few years. But the quality is not always the testing, right? We had also developers that care about testing, care about quality. So they wanted to be on a diagram, they wanted to present to the clients that we have code review. And the history with the code review itself is also a little bit a journey, because at the beginning we had code review that was optional. It was only by the decision of tech lead in a project that he would like to do a code review. Then we found out that in some projects that tech lead has no time, we had no code review. So we introduced the rule that code review is mandatory, and QA were checking if the code review was done. After a few months, the tech leads were the bottleneck, because only one tech lead, I don't know, 12 people in one project, that was the problem. So then, and actually that's the current thing, is that the code review can do everyone from the team. In some projects we have a rule that we want at least 2 approves, but it's no longer mandatory to be one dedicated person, and that also helps us. What's next? So exploratory testing. Our company from the beginning, from the day one, actually worked with the exploratory testing. We were never so keen to do the test cases and then test around that. However, I will tackle this topic in a minute. Because we had some clients that require something like that, of course. So exploratory testing, I don't want to go into the details. Actually, the thing is that is important to me in here, that it was up to QA how he or she testing the thing. It was very creative. It was fun. It was very good times. But not always it was the best quality. So what we did, we wanted to standardize something in here. So we introduced the standard checklist. And that was one of the checklists that was shared across the whole company. Of course, from project to project, it varies. But the usual stuff was there. And that was also an argument for our clients. So we had the question, so you are not doing test cases, so how you know that you are testing everything that is needed to be tested? So that was our answer. We have standard checklists. At least all those things will be tested with all the features. But, you know, that was only the guidance to the testers. So still, exploratory testing was in place. And yeah, this is a screenshot from the Qmetry, and they still having that we are the client of Qmetry. That's actually not true from since, I don't know, maybe for the last 6 years or something. But we had a client that told us, you know, you are doing exploratory, you are doing this standard checklist, but we need to have test cases. And we have to align to that. So we were doing test cases after the testing in exploratory way. You may imagine that after a few weeks, when no one would like to see again the test case, it was always outdated, and we have to do something about it. So what we did, we switched to the session-based testing approach, which provided us a little bit of the evidence of the testing. So we had the notes. It was also a great tool to limit ourselves, because in exploratory testing, when we was totally free, we have problem to time box the things. Yeah. So that was the answer. We started using charters. We started using the first charter that will introduce you the test ideas that you need to follow in the next charters. And it was also good for any other tester to learn from each other, to debrief the session. So that was another goal, but we wanted to increase the quality to the next level. So we introduced cross-testing. And cross-testing, it was the thing that one tester was checking something after another, but we were never do the duplication. So it was only like retesting the bugs and or testing something that were missed in the first testing charter. Yeah, and that was based on the session notes. It was also great to learn from each other. Even when you're retesting bugs and you are a junior, you are getting familiar with good quality test reports or good quality tickets that were raised by someone else. So that was good. However, there were some problems with that. So again, we had the situation that we are finishing the sprint and we have a lot of stories tested once, but we had no time to do the cross-testing. So yeah, again, we were not delivering the whole thing in a story, the whole thing in a sprint, because it was waiting for the next tester to pick it up. So we changed that for test session debrief, and it was no longer waiting for someone to take the whole story to do the testing one more time and gather all the information. It was only an informal meeting to just debrief the session that the first tester did. And usually also a QA lead was a part of it, and that was also a great thing to also integrate two persons because they were working together. But in some cases, we decided, in some projects, it's always in our company like that, that QA lead is actually deciding which of those things he would like to pick. Of course, we have a standards, but we have also some flexibility. So other way of doing a cross-testing on or test session debrief was pair testing. And in that case, just two testers were sitting together and testing the feature by themselves in the same time. And what's more, lastly, we even had that kind of event across the company. So we did the pair testing, borrowing the QA from other project to another. And it was very nice in scope of integration of the whole QA practice, but also to share the knowledge between the projects. Yeah, so those were the things that were improving more and more the quality when we were in a build, so where we are developing the application. But we were doing so much that we had no budget for that. That was the first thing, because no one at the beginning of the project was estimating that we will be doing so much. We were struggling by the budget, so we started doing. We started adding testers on definition. So before the project starts, when we met the client, we wanted to be also there. We wanted also to discuss the quality. We wanted to set the expected quality with the client, so that we will be also able to do the budgeting for that. And yeah, that was the first part of the changes but the problem was we've got a lot of rejects because we were so good in testing that we almost every time rejected a story. We had checklist, we have session debriefs, pair testing, all the stuff, and those poor developers were always getting the reject. Yeah. It was a general problem in the company that we were struggling with delivery because of it. So what to do next? Let's try to switch from reactive to proactive approach. And that was our second big of changes. So the first thing, we had a QA checklist. Why not developer checklist? Maybe we should also list the things that each developer needs to do before he push something to the code review or push something to the implemented state. So that was one of idea. Another very smart thing is that we are building CMS. We are building the platforms, and anytime we are building some components, we were telling developer to do the demo content. And because of it, because developers were forced to do the demo content, we knew that at least once he or she used that. Yeah, so that was a very good trick to improve also the quality. Automation. So of course it was from the beginning, but again, similarly to the code review, the thing was that at the beginning, automation was only when we had time. So you can imagine that it was the first thing that we were dropping from the budget because it was not contracted for the client. So we were doing that for ourselves to speed up our work, but it was not mandatory at the beginning. Then we figured out that it might be useful to have a dedicated person for automation. And that was good for some of the projects. However, the problem was the same as with tech lead and code reviews. So the one person was a bottleneck. And so then we decided the whole QA team would be doing automation. So no matter who will have time, after he tests manually, we'll be doing the automation. Again, then QA have not enough time for that. So in the current times, in our teams, everyone can do the automation. And it's not limited to the QAs. Developers are doing that. UIs are doing that if we are using Protractor in JS. So no matter who has time, we are a team and we are delivering together. So again, a few things that we added to the process. Yeah. So now automation, previously some other things. So we wanted to gather that in some readable way. So definition of done. That's something that we started to use in the projects. That was something that me as a QA lead, I was discussing that with the tech lead, with the PM, with the whole team. What we need to do before we push task to definition of done. And then we were growing. We become a bigger and bigger company. From 30 people, we had 300 people. And we had also bigger projects. So not always sprints, not always 2 weeks of planning was something that we were able to do. We had also a project that were in a BAU state, so we started using Kanban in some of the projects. So Kanban and our current Jira flow was not really aligned. So we introduced another statuses to do, and we also moved the resolve at the end. The thing with to do is very important for us, and it's very helpful because now we know that everything that is just raised by the client or by a tester or by someone else, doesn't matter, is in the new state. It doesn't mean that we need to do it. We need to do it right away. So we have this distinction which is approved, what things needs to be done by the team. Other change in here was that in this place when we have to do, we had open, and that was something that no one understood what means open. It is reopened, the reopen is still open. What does it mean? It was very hard for us, so we just removed it. And even clients didn't get the thing what was open. So we just simply removed that. So we know that we have to do. So we had the definition of done. We know what to do to shift things to the right at the end. But we need to have something that lists the activities that needs to be done to push something to do. So that is definition already. Another thing that helps us to to distinguish if you are really ready to start developing something. What's next? Someone needs to do the review of those tasks, yeah? Because when we started to using a definition of ready, someone needs to assess that. We don't want to do it only by one person. So we introduced 3 Amigos sessions, and that was the session with the 3 perspectives. So we have always a business analyst that was gathering the requirement. We have a QA that was looking at the quality, and we have a tech lead or developer that was thinking how to implement the thing. And doing those 3 Amigos sessions, of course, as always, at the beginning we had the slots in the set by I don't know, twice a sprint. Then we decided that maybe we need to have like 3 times a week. And then, like usually we do now in the projects, we are doing just it on demand. After each stand-up, we are reviewing, for example, 1 task. And that way we are building the backlogs. Not always on those 3 Amigos session, we understand each other. So we introduced BDD, and in that way we now rewriting the requirements, and that was the idea to have the common language between the business and the technology plus testing it. So you know, it was not easy at the beginning because the BAs, they were gathering requirements, but they were not really up to speed with BDD. So what we did, we just organized the workshops with them. We also standardized the way how we do it. We have a template for that. This is shared across the company, and then it somehow start to working properly. Of course, not always, and it is not like that when we are building a BDD in a story, then it would be used in automation. That's true, and it will probably never work in our company. Because we are building the components in a CMS, and we have a lot of things that are not so strict to automate. So it would be simply too hard for developer to understand the BDD that is really doing the job that system does. So it's a different level of BDD there. But we had also a journey with BDD because at the beginning, when we found out, we thought it will be really useful and we need to do it everywhere. And then we had some projects with design and nothing about the features. So we had some silly situation that BAs were describing a design change in BDD. And it was very funny, and it was the time that we resigned from the rule that BDD needs to be in each story. It needs to be there where it's possible, and it would be worth it. So yeah. Then still more and more features, more and more things that we're testing, more and more standards, how to deal with it, how to sell it to the clients. So we introduced Cognifide standards, and we had 3 levels. For each of this section, we have 3 levels of standard, and we are able to then agree at the beginning of the project with the client how many browsers we would like to support, how performance is important for them, and so on and so forth. So that's also something that we're discussing right now before the project. Sorry. Yeah. Another thing. So not only the code review was important for developers and actually for QAs. Also, we had static code analysis, but we had Sonar, yeah, and you had some blockers, criticals, but you never know what is really important there. So we introduced our own metric. It's called Kubacz. And it's based on TIOBE, as is, for example, for lighting or something. So you have code coverage, abstract implementation, all all of that is verified by the sonar, but then we are calculate the one score. So in here we have C, and in company we just have a standard that we are not allowed to be below D, and that's it. You are not specifying that you don't need to have 3 blockers or something on a project basis. Company were growing, and we were becoming more and more mature. However, at the beginning, because of the, as you saw, a lot of things to be checked, not all the projects were the same, and not all the projects were doing and following the standards that we were trying to propagate. So we started doing audits, and we had the checklists as usual to go with the QA lead at the beginning or after a few weeks of the when projects start to verify if they are doing according to the QA plan, for example. And at that time, we were also doing a reporting, and we were comparing projects one to another. We were trying to find how many rejects has each project, and that was important for us at the beginning. However, right now, when we have more and more mature QA practice, it's no longer a case. We don't need to have audits. Now, the role is that QA lead can ask for help, can ask for review, but audit is no longer mandatory because we haven't seen any problems globally. And yeah, so we changed the approach. We were no longer reactive, we were proactive, but it's actually changed not a lot of in that case with rejection. So actually, now you were able to fail on static code, on code review, on testing, on automation, on all the stuffs, and still we were struggling with delivery. We were doing a lot of things. And even we were not afraid to change the acceptance criteria during the sprint. We were trying to find always the balance there, but it was at the end when, maybe not at the end, but when the tester taken the story, even change the acceptance criteria because we found out that something different is important. So we were doing that, and that was the problem with the rejects. So that would be the most important change for us. Actually, maybe more in scope of naming and philosophy, not much in the real change, but it was really, really important, and it gains a lot. So no longer testers. As I presented, we had a lot of activities that was not really for testers. We were on discovery, we cared about the code quality, not only about testing the specific features, so we really don't want to be called testers. We were QAs. But what is the most important thing on this slide? It's this. It was no longer implemented. It was implemented and tested. And that was the change, that where we named this particular state that is tested, it means that developer tests something there. It was not tested by QA in this state. QA was starting here. And good developer was doing that before. You know, always when you're producing something, you are doing tests, right? If not, how you will know that you finished? Yeah, but we just name it. We had that in Jira, and that changed a lot. Now, we were able to say that developer is responsible for testing. And how to help developer? To do first QA hack. So, of course, developers were not testers, so they don't know how to test some things. So at the beginning, when we are moving something from new to do, part of definition of ready is to do a QA hack. And on QA hack, we are just talking and discussing and doing the agreement between me as a QA and developer, what would be tested by who. So we started also to create test ideas that were part of the story. It's part of the description. It's set there. We also updating acceptance criteria. So it's something that is very helpful for us to know what would be done by developer. So when all those things are done by developer, and we are reaching the point that he would like to push that to implemented and tested column, we want proof. We want proof from developer that actually the feature is actually working. So yeah, QA dev demo. It's informal meeting. Developer is presenting on local machine, on integration, depends on the product and on the project. But it's proving that the feature works. And then we also asking, so do you think I need to test something more? Maybe not. Maybe it's enough. Maybe the feature was so simple that developer did the whole testing. So we introduced for that the green, amber, and red features. And at the beginning, when we are doing a QA hack, we are assigning a label. If this is a green task, that means you don't even need to do a QA demo because it's technical. QA don't need to verify anything. We just trust the developer that the thing will be done good. In Amber, yeah, we're doing a QA demo, but maybe no more testing is needed from the QA. And in Red case, is so complicated and so many edge cases is there that we need to do it on our own. Because we got some time, because the developers started to doing some testing, and actually they were doing that always, but now we trust them that they did it, and we have more time. We are not duplicating that. So we have some time for initial non-functional things. So some non-functional, some performance, security, all the initial checks that can be done on integration server, we are able to do once we get the feature to the server. Yeah, so all those things was like our first step to continuous delivery. Our clients, they were pushing us to do as fast as can the features and push that to production. Yeah? Time to market is very key things for us. So because of the things that we did, we were able to, because we also started using Kanban, we had the definition of ready, all the task has their own acceptance criteria, test ideas, developer tests something, code review, all the things. We were able to deliver the particular task to the production, not the whole sprint. So of course we have sprints. We're planning work in 2 weeks, but we are doing releases on a daily basis now. So it's very key to have very good user story. So it's very important, and the better you will have it at the beginning, the less you need to change on the Three Amigos and on QA hack and so on. So we wanted to show the business analyst job on the process, because each project has some business analysts. So we introduced this in definition review, and peer review. And this is actually for us very important information, because if we know that in 2 weeks we are starting the new planning session and we have no stories in to do, we know that we need to help our business analyst, because they are struggling with something, or maybe we don't have enough time of product owner of other stuff. So this is also now giving us yet another level of transparency to the team. And now the recent changes. We were changing the process at the beginning. However, now we wanted to do something with end. Because we started working in continuous delivery, and we wanted to to push the particular and separated tasks. So we wanted to have that state also in Jira. So we have ready for demo, which means it's after testing, it's on server and it's not yet on production. However, it's ready to be presented to product owner. And after the acceptance of product owner, we are moving that to ready to release. And when we have that on ready to release, it is waiting for the next window to go to production. In my current project, it's each day we are going to production at 8:30. So all the tasks that are in this column the previous day, we are moving to the next server. Then some technical things that we wanted to introduce, because we started using Bamboo. We started using also Jenkins. It depends on the projects. However, we wanted to have also some control of the versioning. So now, in my particular project, when I want to deploy a version that was approved actually by myself, but by the product owner, and I would like to build that and push that to production, I'm just pushing one button in Jira, and I'm able to release that. And how is that possible? It's because we introduced also the green-blue thing. And we have like mirroring on the servers. So I'm not afraid that I will do some bad things on the production server, because I'll always have another server, and I have one button that will switch one to another. So I'm able to push the changes as fast as I can, and everything it's presented in a state in Jira. That's why even client or any person in a team knows what happened. Then also, what is very important, because we started using a lot of standards, and we started to do a lot of checklists, and we somehow limit ourselves. Yeah, the creativity is now no longer at the level of the beginning of Cognifide, when we were exploratory testing with exploratory testers without any standards. So why not organizing some bug hunting? And that's something that we're doing for our projects right now. And it's not limited to the QAs. We even introduced the finance, HR, and we're gathering all the people in one room. Project founds pizza, so you always can expect some people there. And we have like 2 hours to test the thing on the actual devices, and on the devices with a different application that is calling someone to you or doing the SMS or something. So it's also important for us. Yeah, and now to wrap up everything, balance, because that is all about. And you've seen that it was always a balance. With code review, with testing, with changing the QA. It's always doing not too much, but just enough to have the right quality level. And I think we will never, ever finish our path. It will be not like in Hobbit or in Lord of the Rings, that we have few series and that's it. We are constantly changing something, and even in the past months we changed some in many projects. So I think it's actually very interesting area, because it will be never the same, and always we will be changing something, and always we will be learning something new. So that's why I like to be in this industry. And that would be all from me today. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any questions? If you feel comfortable asking them in Polish, I can translate. No worries.
Maybe I stand up. Hello. First of all, thank you for your presentation. It was very interesting. I have a couple of questions. First of all, how long does it take to end up a sprint? How long was the sprint for you? How big was the testing team for each team? Mm-hmm. Or was it a separate team that was testing developers, scrums, let's say?
Okay.
This way.
Yeah. So first of all, tester is always, or rather QA, is always a person within a team, so we don't have a dedicated team. That was the problem at the beginning when developers were just flipping something over the wall and waiting for testing. So that wasn't working for us. So tester or QA is always in a team. Sprints takes 2 weeks. So we are selecting so many story points to deliver those in 2 weeks. Always the team when we doing the new forming the new team, it takes some time, few maybe 3-4 sprints to know how many story points we are able to deliver within those 2 weeks. So at the beginning, it's not so easy to plan it. However, after a few sprints, we are quite accurate.
When is the moment when you have this QA hack?
QA hack?
Yes.
So QA hack is when we are after 3 amigos. We know that we have everything in a story. However, now, just before developer start coding, just taken a story from to-do, and he or she would like to start work, then we are doing the QA hack to just agree what would be done by who. Yeah.
Okay, we have time for one more question, and then we can move the discussion out of this room. So, any more questions?
How many developers and QA are in one team in your company?
It's very tough question because we had projects from 40 people divided into streams, but usually the healthy state is like 6-8 persons in a one team. So we had also some calculation in the past that for 3 developers we have 1 QA, but it's not always the case because some of the activities are now taken by developers, like testing, automated testing, for example. Yeah.
All right, thank you. If you have any more questions to Adam, feel free to approach him. Thank you a lot again.
Thank you.